Hey, what's up? Hopefully everyone's doing all right. So we are on week 17. So if we read the Bible cover to cover in 1 year, if we read about 14 pages in my King James version, each section we split up into 50 different sections to get through the Bible in 1 year. We are on week 17 or the 17th section. And the readings this week are 2 Kings 1 through 8. Um, and so what we have right here, like this was kind of like I read it today. It wasn't like super into it reading. I wasn't paying attention a lot. I was kind of just not in the best mindset, I guess, and so I didn't have like the perfect reading of it. But what I did notice is that obviously we're going through the different kings, and you kind of have this same kind of idea where you have king of Israel or the king of Samaria does really bad. And then the king of Judah or the king of Israel or the king of Jerusalem do pretty bad as well. But since they are David's lineage, king of Judah, they seem to do a lot better than the king of Israel and Samaria. But they both do pretty bad, and there are times when they do well, but they do pretty bad. And the times that seem to do well is when there is like a priest or a prophet that's there to kind of keep them in check. But if there's the priest or the prophet isn't there, then they seem to do a lot worse. And so having that priest or that prophet there to hold him accountable is really important for the king. And so if a king has a good prophet or somebody that's really powerful, then they're a lot likely to do a lot better. And so it's really important for the priest and the prophet to be there and to do really well, for the king to do really well. And if the king does really well and the kingdom does really well, hard for the kingdom to do really well if the king doesn't do really well. And I think it's also hard for the king to do well if the kingdom isn't doing really well. So you have these pretty much these three main themes that determine if a kingdom does well. If the king does well, if the prophet does well, or the priests do well, and then if the people are doing well, and or if they're in line with what God's plan is. And so I think that a king can only do so much with what he has, and a prophet can only do so much what he has, and then the people can only do so much what he has. That's what it seems like, but it does seem like the responsibility ultimately lies on the king for what's happening with the people. And so the king has a lot of responsibility to do well, because how the kingdom is run is going to depend a lot on the king, because, well, he's the king, he's the one that's in charge. And so it seems to be, at least in the Bible, that the responsibility of how the people are acting relies on the king. And so on Monday I have the kings of Israel. And so the kings of Israel do a lot worse than the kings of Judah. And so Tuesday I have the kings of Judah, and so you have these two different things, and kind of reflecting on both of them. And I think it's just the idea that the kingdoms just really depend on, but it was a lot different then, I guess, because you have the people and they were all God's people, and so it's a lot different now than you have the Christian people. But it does seem like how the kingdom is run depends a lot on the king. That's one person, and how well the people do, and how well God judges the kingdom is going to depend on the king. So that makes a lot of sense too. Like, so if you have a good kingdom and it's doing really well, then God will establish it. But if the kingdom is doing really bad, then God will get rid of it. But there has to be somebody to be able to stand in the throne that's better than the king that was before it, I think, at least. So I think a lot of these, when God says that house of Ahab or one of these houses are gonna all be destroyed, he doesn't destroy them right away. He just waits till someone else can take their place, so that the beasts don't take over, or like the other things don't take over, so like the gangs don't take over. So like you had when Israel first came into the land, God just didn't make everyone die in front of them right away. He wanted them to take over piece by piece, so that the beasts of the field don't take over it. And I think it's the same way here. It's like, I think kingdoms aren't destroyed because there's not somebody to take its place, then, or a strong foundation, then it just would be even worse, or there'd be problems. So I think that kingdoms are going to be destroyed, but it has to wait until something else or someone else is going to take its place. And so for Wednesday, I have Jehu. I don't even remember exactly what King Jehu was. I know I looked him up. But I'm pretty sure he was a king that did well. I'm trying to think. But honestly, I don't remember that much. This I've been kind of flawed a lot with my behaviors, and I think that because I'm really tired and my behaviors are flawed, that I'm just not paying attention to the way that I should be. But I'm still going over this, and then trying to remember it, and try to remember maybe next year when I go over this to remember that I don't remember each of these people, so that I need to really spend a lot of time to recall and try to remember each of these kings. Jehoiada was a priest. I remember that much, and I think that's when I'm thinking about it, I'm talking about like the kingdom does really well, and there's a good priest over him, but that might be up to the king to decide who he allows the priest to be and who he gives power to. So today it would be like, what power does the king give to the religious? Well, excuse me, to what religion and what branch of Christianity does the king give power to? That's going to determine a lot. Right now, in America, it's like all the churches have power, but I just feel like it's all just like the religious authority. And so there's not like one branch of Christianity that's like dominant in the United States. It's just like all the branches of Christianity, they're kind of just equally have a foothold. But I think it's just kind of all the religious authority. And then on Friday, I have Hezekiah, and I do like Hezekiah. I like Hezekiah and like the kingdom that he had and the way that he did things. I think that when Hezekiah, he sent all the, always think about it, because like he sent all the gold victuals and he gave them to, I forget what other king of I think Syria, that came to invade him, and he gave all the gold stuff away in order to like pay off the king, so the king wasn't destroy him. And I was wondering if that's kind of the right thing to do, because like he could have not given him the money and not given him the victuals, and the king would have came and destroyed them, but then he wouldn't have the conviction to when he comes the second time to be like, okay, well, I already gave him all this stuff and he's still not enough. And they, unless God intervened, then I don't think that they would have been able to be able to win the battle that they did. And so in this reading, they don't actually go over it, but when the battle does commence, they stand in front of Hezekiah and they talk about, I forget who it is, but it's one of the people from, I think it's Syria, and they come into Hezekiah and they're like, okay, well, the gods of these other lands didn't deliver them, like, what do you think your God is going to do? And Hezekiah's like, goes to God and says, the people out here, they say that you're not that great, or you're horrible, and that that you're not going to be able to save, and they it's not just against me that they're doing this, it's against you. And so God hears Hezekiah's prayers and he answers them. He just sends like an angel of the Lord and he just like destroys everybody in the camp like right away. And so you have like this thing where it's like maybe Hezekiah isn't great, or he's not perfect, but the people that are trying to invade and trying to like usurp him are much worse. And so the idea is like you're in competition with everyone around you, the different Christian or the different people that are around you, and you're gonna mess up and you're gonna do wrong things and you're gonna sin, but God's gonna put the person that sins the less in charge. And so it's not about sinning, it's about sinning as less as you possibly can, because we're all sinners here. So it's not about not sinning, it's not about not making mistakes, it's about making the least amount of mistakes and doing the most honorable things in comparison. And so you're not going to do everything right, but you want to just like make your decisions, the mistakes that you make as least as possible and as not bad as possible, and to do the right things the most often that you can. And so like we're all in competition with each other, one against another, like who's going to be in charge and who's going to do these things and who's God's going to love the most. I think it's just realizing you're all going to make mistakes, and I think it's also important that if someone else makes a mistake, that you don't like bring them down, because that's going to put you in a lesser position that you want to be in. It's actually going to put you down. So when you put someone else down, they make mistakes, you're actually lessening your own chance in God's hierarchy. But yeah, this video is pretty bad today. I'm making a lot of mistakes lately. but I still need to make a video every week and just reflect on everything and try to remember this stuff. So, yeah, sorry, this one is pretty bad. I hope everyone's doing okay. God bless and happy truth seeking.